What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a film that was released this year, and it just recently came to Hulu for streaming. And the reason why I was interested in checking this one out is because it was the same director as the film Rubber, which, if you have not seen the film Rubber, it's a movie about a tire that makes people's head explode. It's pretty wild stuff. As you guys are very well aware, I like weird, wild, surrealist comedies. I just find them to be incredibly enjoyable. And this director clearly knows how to make some pretty absurdist stuff. So I was looking forward to watching this movie today. The film I'm going to be talking about is called Smoking Causes Coughing. Smoking Causes Coughing is directed by Quentin Dupieux. After a devastating battle against a diabolical turtle, a team of 5 Avengers, known as the Tobacco Force, is sent on a mandatory retreat to strengthen their decaying group cohesion. Their sojourn goes wonderfully well until Lézardin, Emperor of Evil, decides to annihilate planet Earth. So the only things I knew about this film going into it were that it was the director of Rubber, and the poster looked like a Power Rangers knockoff, which to me, knowing that that was from this kooky French director that has made some wild material previously, and that it looked like a Power Rangers knockoff, I was really excited to watch it. And I didn't hate this movie. I also didn't love it. I think there's a lot of problems with it, but I also think it's a really interesting watch. So I can't describe it any better than the premise. The beginning of the film, you get this family that's on a road trip together. The kid gets out because he has to go to the bathroom, goes to this ledge, and he sees the Tobacco Force fighting this turtle monster. The battle goes goofy, and the turtle explodes, and blood covers everyone. And it's really funny. It's very absurdist and surreal and strange. Well, then after that, we're introduced to the Tobacco Force's leader, who's this like rat guy that has this goo constantly dripping from his mouth, and all the women are infatuated with him for some reason. And he tells them that their group cohesion is off and that they're gonna go to this retreat in the middle of nowhere to try to build up their group morale once more. And so the entire film, you think, is them going to this retreat together, but what it ends up being is through a series of stories being told by different people, and in certain scenarios it's kind of like a selection of vignettes that are, like I said, they're stories amongst the group, or a random character will come in and tell a story. So you're kind of jumping all over the place. And what this felt like to me overall was an amalgamation of ideas that would almost feel like it would belong in like a comedy sketch show. And I think that's why the film doesn't really work cohesively, because each one of them has something to say, possibly, about the way human beings treat our planet, and some of it comes off as really funny, but some of it comes across as really stale and poorly written, and that's why it didn't work completely as a piece for me. And I always love when directors take risks and try to do something different, and as soon as we jumped in to the first story, I was kind of losing traction a little bit with the characters after the initial set piece, and then they're around this campfire telling this story, and the story starts to be presented in front of you, and the story that one of the characters was telling was really interesting, because it started off really overly comedic and then had a very drastic, dark, dramatic turn, and I thought that was really the strongest point in the movie, was that first story. I feel like it was executed really well. It had those comedic beats off the bat, and then took a very serious turn and had something really interesting to say, and I really liked that part a lot. And then we jumped back with those characters, got into another situation with another story, and although, like I said, there are funny beats in those stories, none of them really pay off as much as that first one does, and so you're just kind of waiting around to see how the movie's going to pay off. And it also has an incredibly unsatisfying ending. This film has like an hour and 15-minute runtime, something relatively short, and it feels bloated, which is very unfortunate to say, because like I said, a premise like this is so absurd and ridiculous. If executed correctly, it could be something truly special. I think about some films recently like Psycho Gorman or Turbo Kid that are these premises that on the outside look like they could have been, you know, a kid's cartoon in the 90s, but when you sit down and watch the movie, they're these overly violent, absurdist comedic pieces that work really well because they have great character writing, and so you're immersed in this world. The character writing in this is pretty lackluster. Everyone has a pretty surface level personality to where you don't really dive deep enough into any one of these characters for there to be a very big emotional punch with any one of them. And that's not to say that this film is trying to go for a super dramatic undertone. There are moments where you can feel dramatic pieces floating in the material, but mostly I think that it just sets out to be an absurdist comedy, but unfortunately it doesn't work as a whole as an absurdist comedy piece. The performances are all okay. Some of the characters I liked more than the others, but honestly, like, all the dialogue is delivered relatively flatly, but it didn't feel like a Yorgos Lanthimos or a Wes Anderson or one of those directors where the intentionality in the flat delivery is there. It just felt like they were delivering the lines flatly because they didn't really know how else to do it, or they weren't given good enough direction. There didn't appear to me to be any satire behind the flat delivery of the dialogue lines. And there's little things incorporated in it, like I said, that were enjoyable to watch. But overall, I just left this film feeling incredibly underwhelmed, and like the premise was so good that it could have been something truly special, but instead it was a relatively forgettable film that I probably won't remember in about a week. So have you seen Smoking Causes Coughing? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was very underwhelming. I was really hopeful that I would enjoy it, but honestly, it's relatively forgettable. And I would watch it if you're a fan of surrealist comedies, just to see and give your own interpretation, but otherwise, I would skip this one. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.